So going to go back now a little bit to your BSB career and 2015 in particular. So going into Oulton Park in 2015, you had a very successful start to the season. I think you won, as I'm looking here, both rounds at Donington and Brands Hatch. So you arrived at Oulton Park ready more or less for the championship fight, and you actually ended up leaving the weekend with an 8-point advantage to Shaky Byrne. So you were actually leading the championship. We spoke about now in previous episodes how you have somewhat of unlucky luck behind you, if you like. But how much confidence did that weekend give you? Like, I'm sure you were probably thinking your luck is changing.
Yeah, to be honest, I was massively confident. Even going into it, that whole season, like I said, at the end of 2014, I had a lot of recovery work to do, and that kind of gave me more fight. To be honest with you, it was like 2014. It was pretty tough. So coming back to 15, we knew that we had to win the championship. So I kind of came in with a load of confidence, not cocky, but just confidence. Like, right, we can do it. We've got everything. We've proved we had everything last year. We've improved the bike this year. All I had to do was work on myself. I knew the crew better. So going into these first rounds in 2015, I was just sky high confident. I was loving it. I was loving racing again. So to win at Donington, then win again at Brands, we kind of dominated Brands really, and then to get to Oulton Park, knowing that was my, one of my favourite circuits, to be honest. It was a home round. We had all the Kendall Massive there. Uncle Savs is our 77 club member. He was there with his big Bristol flag, and it was just the whole atmosphere was just amazing. So
spurs you on a little bit, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. It's kind of like, it's not like you have to do it for them, but you kind of want to do it for them. Everybody had so much support. I had so much support there. I always do it at Oulton Park. I always do it every round, but physically, I always have good support at Oulton Park with all the locals. Kendall, obviously my mum.
Good old Whiteley.
Whiteley's always there. Toby and the thumb. Jesus and the thumb. Sorry. They'll know it's a private joke, but it was just it's just an awesome feeling to go to Oulton Park. So to go there in that position was even better. I can kind of, like, now I'm talking about it. I haven't thought about it for a long time, but now I'm talking about it, I'm getting flashbacks of what it was like when I was there. I'm getting goosebumps now. It was just incredible. It's what everybody dreams of, what every rider dreams of, going to their home round or leaving their home round, leading the championship, just on top of the world. So yeah, it was a pretty special place.
Yeah, it must have been just amazing, and as you say, to have all the crew there, and I know it kind of gives you that extra little edge when you have that kind of support behind you, so absolutely fantastic. But moving on from that, and obviously you say kind of Oulton somewhat sort of suits you as a rider, you've been very successful there in your career and in that weekend in particular, but understanding Oulton Park, especially for newcomers, especially for some of the guys maybe in the support classes coming, for a first time, it demands a lot of commitment, doesn't it? There's blind crests, there's elevation changes, there's quite flowing parts of it. Like we alluded to earlier, it's really hard to get your bike kind of on point in the couple of practice sessions and into qualifying. So what would your advice be to people kind of coming maybe as a first timer?
Yeah, it's a tricky one. I would say it's the most difficult circuit on the calendar to set your bike up and to get your head round as well. So I would highly recommend doing a couple of track days at least beforehand. Obviously with the BSB lot, we can't go a week before, but it's certainly worth doing, even if it's the end of the year before. No, if it's on that bike that you're going to race on in 6 months' time, it's worth going to get the thing set up, because you get there. Like I said before, you've got undulation, you've got bumps, you've got tarmac changes, you've got surface changes. If it's damp, it's different under Druids area than it is out the back. Half the circuit's grippy, half of it's not. The curbs are high. It's a minefield, like I said before. It's so difficult to set the thing up. And there is literally one line around there. So one of my favourite places to teach is Oulton Park, when I teach my coaching one-to-one track day stuff, because the lads that get there, they kind of don't really know what to do, and they'll follow the next person, but that person doesn't know what they're doing either, or where they're going. And then when you kind of bring them in and show them the way around, the correct way around Oulton Park, and the correct way to kind of deal with it, which is kind of just relax and not chill, but just don't force it, kind of let the circuit come to you. You have to circulate, you have to keep doing laps, chip away, you'll get a couple of tenths here, and then the next lap you think, right, okay, well I got that part right, so now I need to get the next bit right, and then the next bit right, and each lap you'll fix something, and it'll be 2 tenths and 2 tenths.
You build confidence.
Yeah, you're never going to go out and go, right, I'm 3 seconds off the pace, so you're going to go out and find a second and a half. It just doesn't happen in one lap. So you have to chip away, leave the bike as it is. Yeah, it's going to feel like it's out of control, it'll feel like it's too much power, it'll feel like it's wheeling everywhere. But if you just kind of learn to adapt yourself, adapt your body, use use the circuit, kind of read the circuit better, should I say. There's a lot of places where you're full throttle, say going into Iron Bend, full throttle, and there's two massive bumps. If you kept the thing pinned there, the bike gets out of control.
Okay.
Or if you brake at the wrong point, the bike gets out of control. So you kind of have to roll over all the bumps and just be gentle with it. And then eventually the circuit comes to you, and then once it happens, like the guys that I teach, it just clicks straight away. Even the racers, the young lads, I'll do a track walk with them, and the next day it's like, oh my God, it's a completely different place. So yeah, it's difficult to learn, but once you get your head around it, it's one of the best circuits on the calendar.
Some great advice there for some of the youngsters and obviously the newcomers to the championship, and it's always great to see new blood coming in, as you've alluded to. But you know, from your point of view, they often say, you know, and I don't know, is it a myth or is it actually factual? A lot of circuits kind of riders are preferable to, and there's some circuits that just suit a rider's style. Do you think, if you reflect, you know, on your BSB days, did Oulton Park suit your riding style? You know, quite a smooth sort of non-animated riding style, I might add.
Yeah, I think it does. I mean, people have heard in the past, like Whittam commentating, until he actually got to know me over the, you know, in the early years, he always said I wasn't trying hard enough, I wasn't pushing, I wasn't aggressive enough. And then eventually you kind of realise that's just who I am. I don't look like I'm pushing. And certainly Oulton Park suited me for that reason. I'm always on the limit. But at Oulton Park, you're able to kind of, like I said, be smooth. So when you come to a bump, instead of, you know, keeping the thing pinned and then brake really late and the rear skipping and all that, I kind of guide myself over it and just kind of adapt to the circuit. So for my style, it was brilliant. I'm not a hard late breaker. You know, I brake kind of fairly early but fairly soft. So I still get into the corner as quick as anybody else, if not quicker at the final stages of it. I just don't brake as hard. So the bike
Hence why your discs have lasted so long in the F900.
That's why I can run pads all year. But it still works. But that's my style. So for Oulton Park, yeah, I think it did suit my style because I'm not really an aggressive rider, which is why I kind of Cadwell Park as a perfect opposite end of the scale, I would struggle there because it's quite an aggressive track.
Yeah.
And it didn't suit my style, so I then had to adapt my style to
Ironically,
suit Cadwell Park.
though, another circuit you were really successful at is Cadwell Park. Yeah.
Eventually, yeah. That was actually riding with the likes of Colin Wright back in the day, 2009 GSE. I used to go to Cadwell, Knockhill, and I hated it. I was in the wrong frame of mind. And he taught me that basically you have to learn to love these places. You know, you can't have a bogey circuit. If you want to win the championship, you need to love every circuit you go to. And then once that happened, I kind of got on with it. But going back to riding style, yeah, Oulton Park suits my style just because it's quite smooth, fast flowing. Bit of a roller coaster. I'm kind of doing this now, going through all the corners because it's epic. You know, when you get it all right, it's amazing.
Because your riding style, actually, I always kind of compare you to William Dunlop on the roads in comparison to Michael. In comparison, you were teammates back in 2013, was it?
We were, yeah. We were. He was a great guy. Unbelievable rider. Again, very smooth, very relaxed. Even off the bike.
Non-animated, yeah. Well,
exactly,
you actually remind me of him off the bike as well, because you'd go up and he was so placid and he'd be just like, oh yeah, how are you?
Yeah, I think that adds, you know, if you look at everybody's character as well, a lot of the time that will translate to the circuit as well. You know, you get quite an aggressive kind of out there person. You'll find that a lot of riders, their kind of personality translates onto a track as well. Like I'm a very smooth rider. I class myself as fast. You know, 65 podiums in BSB, a few wins, but even the wins that I've had, and even the times that I've been battling at the front, I don't look quick. You know, that's kind of how I've always ridden. And that's just me, you know. I'm probably the most laid-back person you've ever met. You know, I'm quite chilled. I'm not very brash. I'm not loud. I don't dance. I don't sing. I don't, you know, I kind of don't do anything. I try to, but no, I'm quite chilled. And I think you find that with a lot of riders as well. Their character off the track, it kind of translates to how they are on track as well. So yeah, I mean, for Oulton Park, a circuit like Oulton Park would definitely suit the likes of myself, William. You know, kind of hickey, chilled out people.
So fast forwarding to the current day, we're back here at Oulton Park this weekend. You're aboard the BMW F900 once again. Obviously, you know, past 10, 15 years you've been going around here on British Superbikes. How does riding the BMW F900 though change your approach to the circuit? You know, it does kind of rely heavily on rhythm and sort of corner speed, and without, like we alluded to in previous episodes, offending BMW, they are only 105 brake horsepower. So is it a lot more challenging trying to learn the circuit, especially for some of the new guys in the championship?
Yeah, so oh God, the difference between the F900 and Superbike at Oulton Park, it's the same kind of approach. And to be honest, I made the mistake that I was talking about before about bike setup and everything. I remember when we went there, it would have been last year, it was the first round.
Yeah.
All excited, I was like, absolutely love Oulton Park. I was happy with the bike and testing, track days we did in Spain. And I thought, I just rocked up there, full of confidence, went out, I remember in first practice, went out, did what I have taught myself to do and just kind of, try and stay relaxed. And then each time I came around the start-finish line, I was looking at my pit board and I was like, 7th, 8th,
That would have been me.
12th. And I was like, what the hell's going on? So then I started pushing harder and harder. I was making mistakes. I was running on. The forks were starting to bend because I was braking too late. I can't remember where we ended the session FP1, but it was pretty naff, to be honest with you. And then...
Is that a result in qualifying, though?
No, it was at FP2. So we went back out in FP2, completely changed. I didn't touch the bike. Completely changed my mindset. I was like, right, hang on a minute. You're pushing too hard here. Because the bike is a little underpowered compared to what I was used to, I thought, well, it's not going to wheelie anywhere. We'll be fine. Kind of just, we can attack the circuit a bit more because I'm not on a big bike. But it didn't work. That's just the circuit. So when I went out in FP2, I went out as if I was going to the shops and it shut in 5 minutes. I was like, right, I need something from the shop, closes in 5 minutes, so I'll get a bit of a trot on. And then we ended P2. I think Barry was quickest and we were less than 2
I think
tenths
Nicky was
off him.
having a couple of electronical issues that weekend.
Yeah, he
wasn't
was. We're trying to say that he would have been quicker.
No, I'm just saying he would have probably given you a bit of a run for your money. But
I know, he always does. But no, it was funny how I kind of thought, right, hang on a minute, just take some of your own advice here. So when we went, like I said, we went back out in FP2, I didn't change anything other than my approach. And straight away, right at the top again.
So just on that, like a racer's mindset, if you're just saying there your approach and your sort of mental outlook, to Oulton Park, but to a weekend, it must be paramount to actually have your game face on, really. And have you always had that in your career? Have you always been mentally tough enough and strong enough to be able to kind of bring that approach, block things out, not really let things get to you? Or is it difficult? I've always wondered that.
It's not difficult, to be honest. It used to be, and then I kind of learned how whatever I was dealing with in personal life or injuries or whatever it might be, as soon as you get to the track, that's all that matters. You've worked however long, however many months or weeks or years or whatever it might be to build up to that race. You're there now, so it's like it doesn't matter what you do. What you do at that point, there's nothing else that's going to change your approach to your preparation to it. It's all done. So whatever's happened, it might have been the day before, a couple of hours before, block it out because you've worked for these 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Deal with it on Monday morning. And that's kind of how I've dealt with everything, whether it be injuries or my dad passing away, whatever it might be, as hard as it might be, it's just, you just have to shut off for those 3 days. That's your job. You go out there and you perform.
And have you ever been one, you hear people saying, take it out on the track or, take it out in your race. You seem to be a very level-headed kind of guy. You never really approached a weekend with that mindset, I don't think. You always just tried to keep yourself consistently the same. As you said, like life throws plenty of adversities at us, but you always kept your approach the same. You're always calm, quite content. That must take an awful lot of self-control. Like, I do commend you on that.
It does, and some people, like yourself, you might think, at the time you might think, well, that's a bit selfish, or why is he doing that? Or you just have to learn how to kind of just block things out. It's not that you don't care, it's just that's all that matters. And at the end of the day, F900 or Superbike, those machines will kill you. So you go out there you have to have a clear head on your shoulders. You have to a clear mind. You have to not be thinking about things on the outside that can affect you or the riders around you. So you kind of just have to learn to be selfish for just for those 3 days to kind of shut off.
Only 3 days.
Only 3 days. Sometimes a bit longer. But certainly for those 3 days. So yeah, it's difficult sometimes because there is certain things you do have to deal with over a weekend, and you kind of you have to kind of balance, really.
I suppose in your role now as well, because not only are you actually riding the F900, you're also spannering for yourself, and you are in essence, managing the team as well. I know we do it together, but you've a lot of responsibility aside from actually just throwing your leg over the bike and going racing, and that must be hard to kind of balance as well. Or do you actually enjoy that side of things?
No, I do enjoy it, and I enjoy the fact that I'm doing it with you, first of all. and it's ours. You know, we've got control over everything. Yeah, it's difficult. Yeah, sometimes we kind of struggle to get to each round, particularly one's early on in the season when maybe money isn't coming in or prize money isn't there. But you know, it's ours. It's our little thing, and we've got control over how we run it. And I think we're doing a pretty good job. So I do enjoy that side of it. But I also enjoy, once I get there, it's like, right, everything's done, the awning's set up. Thankfully for the sponsors, MJM have been amazing getting us the awning, Express Coffee, and just seeing everybody coming in and kind of enjoying what we've set up. And it's just it's nice. You know, that side of it is really nice. I get to enjoy riding a bike as well, so I'm kind of spoiled in a way, because I get to go out and play on a bike for 3 days.
That's my favourite part.
But the work behind it and the graft that goes on behind the scenes that people don't see, that's probably one of my favourite parts of it.